Elizabeth Copeland, Pro Trader here at Verified Investing. And today we're going to be talking about some things that will be or have been moving the markets. It is a big day today, and I want to get this right. Today, after the bell, we have some major earnings. So just to give you a reference, 7 stocks are responsible for the S&P's movement up 60% of the S&P's gains since March. So 7 stocks responsible for 60% of the move up from the S&P since those March lows. 4 of them reporting today within 80 seconds of each other. So today is going to be a really big day, something to really watch the markets all day long, and then also anticipate the moves that are going to happen after the market. I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you what to do as far as go long or short with some of these stocks into earnings. That is not my play. I do not have stocks that I buy or sell into earnings before earnings are reported. It's too risky for me. I'm a little bit more of a conservative trader. So do as you will. It's your capital, not mine. But I will give you some more support and resistance levels and look at previous earnings, which are important to where those stocks can move on the upside or downside. I don't have a crystal ball. Unfortunately, I cannot predict the future, but let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's look at the SPX here. Something very interesting to note is that for a while, we kind of fell below this parallel. We chopped inside of it, which I do like this. Yes, the majority of our time has not been in here, but I do like it as an overhead resistance level. This one's a little bit more strong, but obviously a little far up there for a 4% move. I mean, it's doable. This is the S&P, but we could see up to a 2% move before a temporary pullback. Again, this is not long-term. This is the daily chart. So just keep in mind the time frame. You could see a temporary pullback right at this resistance level and then a better one here. So that is the overall SPX move, actually down on the day slightly, but that won't last long for the afternoon. It's either going to be down or up quite a bit after these earnings. So it is where it is now, kind of holding steady before earnings reports. But look at where this is Amazon is on the day. It already hit and still is maintaining above those intraday at least highs. It's hit intraday highs. The high was beat previously from April 24th, that high of 264.50 right there, right at the top of that green bar candle. That was the high before today. Now, again, this is not predictive of the move that's going to happen after earnings. So just keep that in mind. Actually, if we go back to the last earnings, we had a red there down. It went down 9% at one point during that day. It did rebound quite a bit throughout the day. But you can expect kind of a 9% move off of this earnings, or up to a 9% move. This was a green one, and we actually did move 12% to the upside, did end up coming back down on the day and hitting that upsloping trend line. So kind of interesting there. But, that's a big move. 9%, then close, or 12%, then close 9% above. So that's kind of the move that we're looking at today. But again, this is not to the upside or downside. So keep that in mind. Let's look at both. So let's say this stock did pop, 9 to 10% today. I mean, that puts us near the 300 range, right? Puts us right up there at 392 to 300. So Amazon could be looking at 300, but also on the downside, it actually puts us to a really nice level, a couple of levels, a gap fill right here at 240 area. And then one right below that around 233. So if we get rid of all this excess noise here, we can see that, on the upside, sure, 300 might be a psychological level, but there's just no technical analysis up here because it's just, we've never been up there before. You can start drawing trend lines if you'd like to try to help you out, but even those only bring it to 270. We can draw some right here. I mean, maybe this one will bring it up till, let's see, that brings it up to 296. So that might be a better one, 295-ish area. So yeah, just interesting that it's hard for me at all-time highs. I'm not that kind of trader, where there are some aggressive traders that would take it at all-time highs up here. Probably appears to 300 for more conservative, 295 for more of those aggressive traders. But again, I can't predict the future. I don't know what earnings are going to be, up or down, just giving you some levels in between. All right, let's quickly look at Microsoft here. We got a few to get through. Microsoft had a huge down move from October of 25, down 35%. Now is rebounded, actually oversold on the RSI on the daily chart as it bounced pretty significantly there in just a few trading sessions. Now we're finding that earnings after the bell today will be very interesting. So let's go back to the earnings right here. We actually beat earnings, maybe a worse outlook, but that was a 12% move to the downside from the close of the previous day. So that's just one earnings. Let's go back to one more just to kind of get an idea of what we could see here. Here's another one. Beat earnings still went down 3%, so not as much of a move. Here went up 7.88. So let's say anywhere between 8% and 12%. So let's go an even 10, right? So let's say we close here today, a 10% move would still put this actually right there around a nice gap fill. And then the good news is you do have some backup, another gap fill just ahead. That's 470 to 481. And then another one above that. A lot of resistance above here at 506. I mean, yeah, that's a big move though. So obviously make sure that you're allocating your portfolio correctly. So you can dollar cost average if you need to, if that's your plan, or play it however you want. It's hard stop after these. It is up to you. Now we do have some downside of another pivot low, which is down here, and a gap fill, and a couple of gap fills along the way. So 370 down to 355, and then even 337, which is a previous kind of area of what was support, then resistance back from 2023. So another area down here of support. Kind of interesting on both sides there. Some upper levels and lower levels. There is support and resistance ahead. It just depends on, again, how much allocation you have for those earnings. Again, I'm not one to play into earnings, but that is completely up to you. And these are not earnings levels. These are just if it pops, especially as you're going into the session tomorrow morning, looking at some of those to have support and resistance levels at. So it's pretty interesting. Now, let's go to Meta really quick here. We got a few more minutes to talk about some of these. So let's say you get in tomorrow morning and you're looking at Meta. Well, Meta is very interesting. It kind of the same with Microsoft, had a nice fall down, actually broke kind of a head and shoulders pattern, retraced, but then popped above. So this trend line right here acted as support and then resistance only for a little bit, but it bounced on that line a few times and then pushed right through. So Meta, let's go back to some previous earnings here. Meta can fall, from the earnings back in October, right there around 13%. We had earnings right about here as well. That popped 11%. So this thing can move off of earnings. So let's say you get in tomorrow and it's up quite a bit, around 757 level. Well, you do have a gap fill right here around 751, a pivot high around 789. And then on the downside, we have, this is a nice gap fill right here. Actually, I really like this one at a 754, one below that, 737, and then a pivot low and gap fill, 523. So some nice support up here, nice resistance up here, nice support down here. Even below that, we have some resistance some previous times. These are really significant gaps because it's been a while since we've been there. And look at the gaps in here, a good 3-4% gap. And that was actually before earnings from back in May of 2025. So you've got a lot of support down here, a few areas of resistance, just something to keep in mind on that when you get in tomorrow to look at. WTI, last thing we'll look at here. Oil has been up today. We do have a couple of resistance levels right there at 106, and then of course all-time high, recent pivot high, not all-time high, 112. That all-time high is a little bit higher than that. So there's some good areas for reversals. Again, short-term, we're not looking at long-term here, but short-term reversals for oil, which will be very interesting, especially as we have these earnings into play. Today, SPX is kind of hovering around right around where it opened. Not much of an up, not much of a down. There are some minutes being released this afternoon, FMOC, and we have these big earnings for tonight. So Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, and Google. Google's another one that's at all-time highs today, just like Amazon. Again, this trend line I like for some resistance, is an upsloping trend line. It's been hit a few times before, recently in November, and then again in February of 2025, 2026. And then we could see some resistance up here. But again, this is just something to watch. Support down at 287. So I'd target this area for a nice resistance, target this for support. But again, playing earnings, very risky. I cannot obviously emphasize that enough. So just make sure that you are doing what you need to do. What I like to do is play earnings the next day. So I like to come in, see what it did after market, after earnings were reported, what it's done pre-market, so post and pre-market analysis, and then also look at what what the markets are doing, what the indices are doing, and oil, and decide where my entries and exits will be accordingly. But I know a lot of aggressive traders, you like the thrill of it, you like to get in as earnings are released. But for me, it's just too much of a bet. So I like to be a little more conservative, play it the next day. And yeah, it's up to you what you do, obviously. But I gave you some great levels. Hopefully, you can pause and replay these for some more analysis, or just looking at different levels. I cannot wait to see where these stocks are tomorrow. A lot of trading opportunities as we get in tomorrow. If you haven't joined us, make sure to join us in our live day trade room, or Apex live day trade room. We'll put a link below. And this is where it gets fun, guys. It's earnings season, and I cannot wait for tomorrow morning. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this will help you out for tomorrow morning, and hopefully you'll join us in the trading room and see how it all goes. Have a great day, everybody.